So far in chapter 11, we've been dealing with systems of equations. Systems of equations are sets of two or more equations that we solve together, and we've seen that their intersection is the solution to the system, so the intersection of the lines. We've seen situations where there's one intersection or no intersections or an infinite number of intersections. In the cases that we're going to be looking at in the next couple sections, we're going to be looking at one intersection point or one solution, typically. And these are all going to be dealing with applications. That means story problems, real life situations, or even some made-up situations that are just making you think, where you have to come up with a system to represent some sort of situation. And there's really, I think, a four-step process to solving these types of problems. One is that you need to define your variables. You need to know what your x and your y is. Second is you need to set up your system. Once you know what your variables are, you can set up a system of equations. That's two equations that you can then solve. Step 3 is to then solve that system, find the value for x and y or whatever your variables are, and then finally state your answer. And we'd like to state our answer in a way that's consistent with the problem. Maybe we have to include units. Maybe we have to explain how the variables interact with each other. I don't know. Depends on the problem. And so the best way to do this is to just do a bunch of problems. The best way to practice and learn is to do a bunch of problems, set it up, and organize ourselves every time using these 4 steps. And I think that will help. So in this first problem, it says the difference between two integers is 13 and their sum is 87. What are the two integers? And so the first thing I need to do is figure out what is it asking me to find. In the question part, it says what are the two integers. So there's two numbers I need to find, two integers. So I'm going to use my variables to represent those integers. So I'm going to say x and y are the two integers. Have to define your variables first. Okay. Once you've defined them, then you set up your system. Alright, so our system is two equations. Now, this first sentence actually has two equations embedded in it. Notice the word is and this word is. Now, it appears that I underlined them twice, but you could also think of those as equal signs because that's what they are. The word is represents an equal sign. And so it says before the word is, the first is here, it says the difference between two integers is 13. Remember, the difference is a subtraction. So if you were to subtract x and y from each other, x minus y, you would get 13. The difference between two integers, that's x and y, equals 13. Then here it says, and their sum is 87. The sum is addition. So that would be adding the two numbers equals 87. So we've just created the system of equations to solve. Now we go through and solve the system. Now we could use substitution method. I actually like the addition method with this one, because we don't have to do any multiplying. We already have opposite coefficients on the y. And so if I simply add these equations together, I'll use the addition method. I get 2x, I get 0y, 13 and 87 makes 100. And then, let's see, so then the 0y drops out. I get 2x equals 100, which of course means x equals 50 if I divide both sides by 2. Alright, so x equals 50. Now I've got to figure out what the y value is. Okay, because I found one of them, I need the other one. And so I know that their difference is 13. I could just plug this in and figure out what the y value is. It doesn't matter. I could actually plug it in. It might be easier on the second one because I don't have to deal with the negative here. So let's do that. Let's take 50 plus y equals 87. Move this over a little. Subtract the 50 off. And y would have to equal, what's that, 37? Okay. So it looks like I've solved the system. I'm going to double check, and maybe I could have put another step in here, which is a check step. I usually do this in my head anyway, but it's fine. You can insert that. I always check and make sure it fits. The answer does. So 50 and 37, they have a difference of 13. Right? If you took 50 minus 13, you would get 37. And if you add them together, you get 87. So that makes sense. They do fit. And so the statement of our answer is to say the two integers are 50 and 37. Okay. When we state our answer, it's good to use a complete sentence. And again, if units are necessary, we would use them. They weren't here, but that's okay. All right. Each of the videos that I'm going to show you is going to include a new example, variation of this. So just a bunch of examples coming up. Enjoy.